There are some common misconceptions around budgeting that I think we should cover off before we get into more detail on the budgeting process itself. First of all, one of the big misconceptions is that budgeting is just for people that are struggling financially. And while putting in place a budgeting strategy can help you get your finances in order, it's also something that can benefit people of all income levels and of all financial circumstances in terms of the level of wealth that they might have. And I think you only need to look at the fact that all corporations have a budgeting strategy in place, all governments have a budgeting strategy in place. The same goes for charities, right? It makes sense from a financial perspective to have a budget strategy in place because it gives you greater control over your decision making and it brings clarity and I suppose consistency to your decision making over the long term. Now, you will see people say, well, look, I earn plenty of money. I don't really need to worry about a budget because a budget is about putting constraints in place. And the reality is that when we start to make more money, our lifestyle changes and we start to spend more money. And so putting a budget in place early on can give you, I suppose, greater control that can apply through the different life stages that you will encounter. As you start to make more money, your budgeting mindset will still apply and you can start to save a little bit more for the future, or you can take more risks in certain areas in terms of some of the investments that you're making. But ultimately, your mindset will be in place so that as your income levels increase, you can make better decision making that allows you to, of course, live the life that you want to live in the present, but not at the cost of planning for your future as well. So I think that budgeting mindset, the earlier you start to apply it, the more it's going to help in terms of getting your financial situation in order and taking more control over the decisions that you want to make in terms of the present, but also planning for the future and when you might want to retire, etc., or some of the things that you might want to do with your life. You know I can speak from personal experience that, I would have definitely been someone that had the mindset that, well, look, I'm making good money, I'm going to live the good life, right? So I probably can say that, I most definitely can say that I spent money in places over the years that if I maybe had a little bit more budgeting mindset at the time, I maybe have made certain decisions slightly differently. Not the big ones, but I might have saved a certain amount here or a certain amount of there that could have helped towards the long-term planning for the future. I probably had a mindset that, look, I'm making good money now, I'll always make good money. Now, that's not the case for everybody, right? The situation can change. There can be an economic downturn. Your job prospects could change. So I think it's important not to fall into the trap of saying, I'm making good money now, so I'll just spend more and more. And you see this in the professions where they're paid astronomical amounts of money, like being, let's say, footballers, for example. You'll see cases where footballers go bankrupt after they've retired and they didn't plan at all for their future. And so that's what we're trying to do, is say that, look, a budget is ultimately about balance with what you're spending now in terms of the life you want to live and planning for the future.